we all could take a lesson in that one. That just makes you a better brewer. You gotta always want it to be better, and don't be afraid to let it go.
All right, welcome back to Tap That AZ. I'm your host, Eric Walters. I'm in Tempe at Pedal Haus Brewery, joined by Doc Osborne, famed brewer extraordinaire, beer lover, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
I love beer.
Awesome. Let's tap into Pedal Haus Brewery. Doc, thanks for joining me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, I'm really excited. I know before we started here, you gave me a tour of the facility back here. So this whole place is amazing. I love this place.
It's big.
So you've been in the beer business for quite a while, right?
A little over 20 years.
A little over 20.
Yeah. I was a chiropractor before that. Just made beer at home.
Really?
Decided I'd rather make beer.
Why?
Well, just like anybody who's homebrewed, you kind of get a bug and you can't do anything but homebrew, and all you're thinking about is going home to make your next batch. So I wanted to invent things that had already been invented and try and impress people that weren't impressed, and eventually just decided this is more fun.
Yeah. How long did you do that? How long were you a chiropractor?
So I went through school. I graduated in 96, right about the time I started apprenticing at BJ's when they opened their first brewery. I just kind of, long story short, I moved to California because I wanted to open a chiropractic practice in California next to a building I eventually wanted to buy to put a brewery in.
So you had a plan for it, like it was...
Yeah. BJ's bought that building and put a brewery in it. So I just knocked on the door and said, can I come in and help out on the weekends? And I ended up doing more and more and more, and less golfing and less chiropractic. And next thing you know, 20 years went by and I'm still doing this. So luckily my wife's also a brewer, so she understands.
Really? Where does she brew?
She brews at Four Peaks.
Oh, no way.
Yeah, she's been there. She started working for me 15 years ago almost. And then when she left to go to Four Peaks, we remained friends and started dating. Next thing you know, we're getting married and buying a house. So
wow. Did you guys get married in a brewery?
No, we got married in the backyard.
Okay. Yeah.
We just bought a house, so 3 weeks later we're like, let's get this thing fixed up and do it right in the backyard. So
nice. I'm sure you guys had good beer though, right?
Yeah, the beer distributors took care of us.
Yeah.
I got a call one day from a friend at a distributor, said, I need you to swing by the place. We got a gift for you. I'm thinking bottle of whiskey or something. I brought my truck, luckily. He loaded it up. We had Chimay, Guinness, Sierra Nevada, all kinds of, just an assortment of all kinds of beer. Plus each of our brewery had beer, and we brewed collaboration beer together. I had the Alt Ball and Chain, and we had a Helles that we called What the Hell Is He Thinking? So we revealed those for our wedding.
The Alt Ball and Chain?
Yeah.
That's pretty
That's
awesome.
what she brewed.
Yeah. So that was, instead of exchanging vows, you guys exchanged beers.
Beer, basically, yeah.
That's pretty badass.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
Well, Julian approached me. It came pretty fast. I was not looking to leave. I just, he approached me one day. A mutual friend introduced us, and he had questions because he was opening a brewery in Tempe. And I've had a lot of people approach me with questions, and just took it as another, like, sure, pal, we'll see when that happens. So he started talking. He said he already purchased equipment. He already purchased land. So I started taking him serious, and I just offered advice. I can't take on a consulting gig if I'm working somewhere else, but I can give away free advice on the weekends. And a couple conversations turned into, I don't have a brewery yet, and I need you. And I still laughed it off. I'm like, yeah, right. You're not going to be able to afford me. And then I saw the plans and how much money they're putting into this, and I got interested real quick. So
yeah. So you was that his goal from the beginning? Was like, I'm just going to ask you a few questions leading up to him asking you, or you think it blossomed from?
I think it just worked. He didn't know me, I didn't know him, so
okay.
He probably kind of the same opinion of me, like another brewer.
Yeah.
But it just we had good chemistry, so we talked a little more and it worked out.
Yeah. Nice. So you were giving me a tour in the back, and so as far as like the design of the brewing facility back there, you had a lot of input in that, right?
Yeah. So Julian had already hired a consultant who designed a brewery, and it was a big basic brewery, but I kind of came in and revamped things to fit more of our needs, and also cut some costs, and then use that money and spend it elsewhere where we could use it to our advantage. So unfortunately for the manufacturer, less money in their pocket, but more money for us to use elsewhere.
Yeah, poor manufacturer, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, the way you said that everything, you were kind of guiding me around, and it's interesting the way that it's designed too, because you're also looking at the efficiency of energy back there too.
Yeah, so we used to have multiple tanks with steam jackets. It was a kettle and a mash tun with steam jackets. And I took I got rid of the mash tun and created a lauter tun, and then I used the kettle as a mash tun. So I have a mash mixer agitators in my kettle.
Which is unusual, right?
Yeah, well, that's the way they do it in Europe, pretty much
Okay.
everywhere. So that was my inspiration, to be able to make lagers and do more of the stuff like that. And I added, I don't know if you saw inside, there was a token piece of copper in there. So
I didn't see that, no.
a little bit of copper goes a long way to help clean up the beer flavor anywhere in your
Really?
process. But I put it in the kettle, so
Why? What does the copper do?
it scrubs sulfurs a little bit. Also, the zinc in it is very nutritious for yeast. That is, in Germany, they can't add yeast nutrients. They have to use the 4 ingredients.
Yeah.
But if you brew in copper, your beer ferments really nicely. So
Loophole.
it doesn't take much copper. Just anywhere in there, a piece of pipe, you transfer between one tank to another through copper, it'll pick up what you need.
Roll of pennies or something like that. Just throw that in there with the beer.
Yeah, well, it works similar in the distilleries. The copper stills have a different flavor than stainless ones or glass. I used to use a glass still back in lab, and you can make some clean vodka, but it does not taste the same as coming out of copper. So
Interesting. I always wonder that about, because we've done interviews with a couple distilleries, and it's always copper. It's the copper stills. I'm like, is it just because it looks cool? But there's science behind it.
and it looks cool.
And it does look cool, yeah.
Yeah, at BJ's we did copper clad, so it was just copper skin on the outside of our tanks, stainless on the inside. But and it's hard to clean when you get chemicals on it.
Oh, really?
It doesn't stay polished, but
Yeah.
if you get copper on the inside, it's actually a good thing.
Okay. Yeah. Nice. So, so you designed, and you were telling me about the steam, right? That comes
Yeah.
out. What's that?
Yeah, so we did less tanks with steam, and then on that tank, the one tank with steam, we have a heat exchanger on the kettle exhaust. Instead of putting the steam out into the environment, we figure Arizona's hot enough already, and we paid for that energy to create the steam. Let's collect it. So we run that through a heat exchanger and recirculate that heat back through our hot liquor tank, which is our hot water tank for the next batch. So it does not take us any energy to heat up water to brew a batch. It's already collected out of the steam from our previous. We just need the energy to maintain it. If it's over the weekend, it'll kick on occasionally just to keep it maintained.
Just to kind of it's almost like a reserve type of thing.
Yeah, and we use reverse osmosis, so it takes a while to make the water. We can't just get it on demand and heat it up, which also would be inefficient.
Yeah. Right in there where there's the bar. Do you have names? Did you guys name them?
Yeah, we got the lounge. And this is the brewery bar. So lounge bar, brewery bar. Got the fire pits out there, which you can also rent out. They seat quite a few people in each one. Then we have the stage area. We have, I don't know if you've been out there, seen the cornhole and the ping pong tables.
I walked past it. I haven't gone and seen it up close. So it looks awesome.
It's pretty nice. And you can, like with a live band, you can still be up there playing cornhole, but we usually put the band where the ping pong tables are at. So we kind of exclude that. There's a beer garden out there, obviously. So a lot of different places to eat and enjoy different stuff. Also the private dining room right behind you, which I like to call the Jesus room, because it looks kind of like the Last Supper room.
It does, yeah.
It's all encased in glass, so people can use that for business meetings. They can shut the door, and there's a TV they can plug their computer into and do presentations.
Nice.
And drink our beer.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Makes the meetings a little more tolerable.
It definitely does, yeah. Yeah, I think it should be a necessity at any type of business meeting.
So this came at the remodel. Julian really wanted to. We had the silo we built. I actually built that silo out there myself.
Oh, did
we
you
ordered
really?
it and it came on a couple pallets. So built it on its side, and then we had someone help us tilt it up. So he decided he really likes it, but it's hidden in the back. He wants a really big silo so people from Mill Avenue can see there's a brewery back here. And we're kind of off Mill Avenue. So he built that giant, I think that's a 24-foot diameter grain silo that's designed for feed, and we had it built and raised it up so we can put dining room tables underneath. It's got some pretty cool acoustics in there too.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
And in Arizona, when we have a light rain, it's usually still pretty nice out. You can stay dry and be outdoors.
That's a good point. Cools it down, and yeah, you could have some like acoustic shows in there. Do some live music.
I've never seen that yet, but that's a great idea.
Right.
Just if we were doing this podcast from in there, it's a different sound. You we hear everything we say much better. It's like a big bowl.
Interesting.
In
Wow. I'm gonna have to go sit in there and just kind of hum. Julian, he's had his hand in quite a few projects here in Phoenix, right?
He sure has.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's opened quite a few bars from New Mexico, California, Hannah Bar, right.
That's right down the street, right?
Yeah, right across there. Great place to drink beer. La Boca, Modern Margarita.
Modern Margarita. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Gringo Star. There's been a few others that I don't even know about that.
Yeah.
He's done his thing. He pretty much sold most of them to do this.
So this is his baby at this point.
Right now it is, yeah. He's working on some other stuff.
Really?
You can't get him to sit still. That's what he does.
Yeah.
Judging by the looks here, the first one is our light lager,
Okay.
which is not carbonated yet because it came right out of we just filtered it. And we're carbonating as we speak.
It smells really good. So this is award winning. This is an award winning lager.
Yeah, so this is another one. Julian really pushed for it. He wanted a light beer, and originally we didn't think we'd want a light beer, but we've been selling so much Coors Light in bottles here. You know, people come in the brewery and it's a big place, so you're going to get all kinds of people, and they want a Coors Light, and we decided, let's make a light beer, and it took off. It did well. We released our first batch about this time last year, and we entered it in the Los Angeles International Beer Competition last spring, and it won the gold. So we were pretty happy to beat the Bud Miller Coors guys.
So those they're in those competitions as well.
I believe so. One of the competitions is also won at the North American Beer Awards, which is also international, and Coors Light took a bronze in one of those, so we knew they were in it. But and then the big competition of the year was the Great American Beer Fest. We took a silver in there, and we were shocked. I wasn't even there. I went up to judge, and then I came home right after judging and got all these texts the next morning. Congratulations. I'm like, what?
And that's interesting too, because you get a wide range of people, and I think it was kind of the concept when you guys opened, right? It wasn't just a matter of like imperial stouts and the double IPAs, like the hardcore beer people. You guys wanted to bring them in, but you also wanted to bring in other people too, right?
Yeah, Julian, one of the things that intrigued me when he approached me was he wants to do more of a European bistro. Now, if you remember, before the remodel, it looked very European. I mean, with a zinc bar top right here and open with a lot of tables, and it was fun. But the idea was, let's do Belgian ales, let's do Saisons, let's do the German lagers. And I've been brewing ales for so long, and some lagers were not things I'm really comfortable with, and I like the challenge. So let's try it. So I've been learning. I'm still learning, but
so all the early years, there wasn't much lagering.
Not much. Once a year we do the Oktoberfest and Bock occasionally, but Pilsner once in a while. But we just did it based upon, it's kind of like reading a recipe in a cookbook. We just did what we were told, and it's totally normal in the beer industry to dump beer that you're not happy with. It's way better than selling it or trying to pass it off. And most brewers don't do that enough. But
dump
yeah, let the beer go. If you think you can do a better job, don't serve it. I think we all could take a lesson in that one. That just makes you a better brewer. You gotta always want it to be better, and don't be afraid to let it go. But lagers, you're invested for a lot longer before you figure that out, and you're going to be a lot longer before you correct it. So after the light lager, we have our Kolsch.
Okay.
Both of these are gluten reduced as well. We use an enzyme that takes the haze and the gluten out of the beer. We can't say gluten free, but it is tested to below 10 parts per billion.
Okay.
10 parts per million, and that's the lowest the test will even show on the ELISA test. So we don't make any health claims if you're celiac. For me personally, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I'd just stick with cider if I was. But someone who's just looking to be more concerned about the gluten in their diet, they're probably going to be safe with this stuff.
Kolsch. Now, is a Kolsch ale or lager?
Yeah, depends on who you ask. By definition, I think Eric Warner is the gentleman that wrote the book on Kolsch, and I think he says it's an ale.
Okay.
By definition, it's some people say it's a hybrid. It is brewed colder to suppress a lot of those flavors. Kolsch has a unique flavor in itself because of the way they ferment it in a hybrid way. It's usually started a little cooler and fermented a little warmer at the end. And for me, it's just about keeping it clean.
Yeah.
And it's got a little bit of wheat in it. You really, technically, you're not supposed to call it a Kolsch unless your brewery is within the line of sight of the church in Cologne, the big dome church. So,
really?
We can call it Kolsch style.
Kolsch style. Okay.
Hyphenated.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it tastes like a lager. Like I think that it would taste more similar to a lager than it would an ale.
We ferment it cold.
Okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
we definitely ferment it cold here.
Yeah. It's really good.
Yeah, and I've got a lot of experience with Kolsch. I brewed it for 20 years at BJ's.
Okay.
It was a Kolsch. They did a very good job at theirs. So.
The time paid off. Nice work with this one.
Yeah, I love that beer.
Yeah. This is a good maintenance beer, is what I would call it, right? Like double IPA. You're not drinking those throughout the whole football game,
No.
right?
Yeah, you can't taste anything after drinking enough double IPAs. Yeah, I do like a Kolsch for palate cleansing, just having a beer to feel good because you're drinking a beer.
Yeah.
And it's not as likely to get skunky in the sun if you're drinking at the stadium.
Okay. Yeah.
But you can now. They have a beer garden at
Oh, do they really?
Sun Devil Stadium, yeah.
Yeah. Are you guys? Or do you have your beers there?
Not down in the beer garden. We do upstairs in the private booths. So.
Okay. Nice. Nice. Maybe someday, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, what's the difference between a Belgian and a Saison? They smell
Saison
similar.
can be a type of Belgian or French beer. Yeah, so this is the Belgian's just the loose term describing one of the many styles, and most people from Belgium don't like to be categorized in a style. They're artists, so they like to just say it's beer.
Okay.
Unlike the Germans, which they have their styles. This is our beer Blanch, which is a Belgian wit, similar to Hoegaarden and Blue Moon. And those, but we use the Westmalle yeast, which gives a little more of the bubble gum and pineapple notes. Brings out a little more clove and banana than some of the others. The Hoegaarden yeast is a great yeast. It sometimes tastes like raw hot dogs,
Interesting.
which people don't like to hear that. But if you
I loved raw hot dogs when I was a kid. Yeah.
next time you try a Hoegaarden, think of raw hot dogs with little Vienna sausages.
Nice.
Similar flavors. So they use coriander and orange peel, and the coriander is also used in hot dogs.
Now, coming up next, you said this is your favorite, right?
Is this the Hoppy Lager?
This is the Hoppy Lager. This is why this one is the most full, I think, right?
Yes, that's why I filled it the highest, because I was going to drink this one.
Okay. Nice.
So yeah, the Hoppy Lager, it's not a real style. It's just something I wanted to brew for my own taste. And luckily there's enough people that enjoy it that I can keep brewing it. It's basically we took a pale ale, which is commercially, if I got to reach in the shelf somewhere, shout out to my friends at Sierra Nevada. I like the Sierra Nevada pale ale in the cans.
Yeah.
I know what it's going to taste like every time. I'm not looking to blow my mind, and I'm not looking to be disappointed when I order it. Sometimes you take chances on a lot of other beers, and they don't come out the way you think. So I love Sierra Nevada. Love those guys.
Yeah.
But I wanted something similar to their pale ale, but with a twist. So we do it with the lager yeast. We ferment it cold, and we do single hop each time. So new variety each time we brew it, and we showcase the hops that are fun out there. And the great hops of the world are pretty much, they're all bought out by every other brewer in town. If it's a great hop, people contract it, and it's hard to get. It'd be very difficult to commit to a hop that's a great hop, because you got to give 3 years notice to get the growers to buy you some as you get bigger, or to grow you some. So for this, since it's one box each time, I just beg. I just call around and beg other brewers, can I have one box?
Right.
One box of this great stuff, and not a problem.
Yeah. Nice. So like there's different breweries around, even just around Phoenix here, that they've got that contract.
Yes. So any big brewery, as you start growing and your brand is distinct by a hop profile, you have to contract, and you need to contract enough for your growth that you're projecting. But most people have too much hops. So at the end of the year, you're actually doing them a favor because they can't get into their next year's crop until they finish the previous. So call and say, hey, what do you got?
Yeah.
I'll buy some of your hops off you. And if their sales aren't doing as good as they had hoped, then they're willing to part with them. And because they buy them in larger quantities, they also buy them cheaper than I can get them. So
Okay.
the community is really cool like that. All the breweries, especially in Arizona, the Arizona beer community is unbelievable.
I agree. Yeah. When I started this, that was like it was going to be craft beverage. Like I was going to do breweries, local coffee, some of the wineries. But as I started doing interviews with breweries, I'm like, no, this is where I want to be. The community is just awesome. And every conversation I had with a brewery, brewers, owners, they say the same thing. They're like, we love it. It's,
Yeah, we help each other out. Anytime there's a real need, people can call another brewer, and you never say no to someone who's in need. And that's particularly in the brewing industry, because we're so small. You never know who your next boss is going to be. So you have to take care of everybody the same. But we have had plenty of times where the yeast, I pull yeast off of a batch of beer and I put it in a brink and it sits in the walk-in for a couple days. And particularly our ale yeast, since we brew so much lagers, the ale yeast sits a little longer than it should, and you don't really know it until you brew with it again. And you look at it, it's like, oh, okay, the yeast, you look under the microscope and you stain it and you see the viability is going down. So well, let's order some new yeast for next time. Well, sometimes you brew a batch and you put the yeast in there and you look at it on the microscope and go, oh crap. And you call another brewer and you're not asking polite, you're telling them, I'm coming, I need yeast.
Yeah.
Bad. And they save you.
Yeah.
Never been turned down by another brewer. I try not to do the same.
Yeah.
Or try and return the favor if they need it too. Just do what you can to get them through their batch.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one common cause, right? I mean, you guys are all trying to build up this. I mean, it's best for you. Like if the guys from the shop, they're like, hey, dude, we're struggling with this. You're like, dude, I'll help you out, right?
Absolutely.
It's helping build everybody up, because you guys would refer, like if you're talking to somebody like, dude, this place is great, we want to hit up a couple other places. You're not going to say, nah, this is the only one. Don't go to them. You're like, oh, dude, there's a shop right down the street.
The shop's awesome.
Yeah, I love the shop.
I love the vibe there.
Yeah, me
Another
too.
great patio.
Yes, it is.
And off Mill Avenue, which has some appeal as well.
Yeah.
Some people like to get down here, and some people just want to get off of Mill Avenue, and that's a great place near here to enjoy a little calmer scene.
It's like you're just going to a buddy's house.
Yeah,
a buddy who really made their patio awesome. It makes great beer.
Yeah, and that food truck there.
Yeah,
Judd Cummings running that food truck. That is as good as it gets.
Yes,
makes his own cheese and it's good stuff.
Yeah, because you're thinking like, oh, food truck, okay, yeah. I mean, he's making I think I've seen him make like sea bass and stuff in there. Like, what are you doing, man? That's awesome. Yeah. So.
Yeah, great dude.
Yeah, for sure. So, what's the hop in this one?
This particular hop is Denali.
This is the single hop American Hoppy Lager.
Yeah, so Denali gives a lot of fruity, tropical notes, which we're really trying to showcase those in most of the ones we brew. But yeah, this is the first time I ever used it, and I love it. It would be a great hop to blend with other hops too.
Yeah.
We did one with Idaho 7 about a year ago, and that was amazing. So dank, and didn't have a lot of the fruity notes. It just had hop. So we started thinking, man, that would be a good blender hop. Add some fruity notes from another hop and use that. And we did that when we made our first batch of Ricon. We blended some of the different hops that we use in this beer together. That's kind of what we do. This beer only uses 16 pounds of hops out of a 44-pound box. So the leftovers get saved, and we brew a double IPA or our Ricon, which is our unfiltered double IPA that we use the hops in.
Okay, gotcha. And the Ricon was a collaboration? Is that a collaboration?
Yeah, actually, so it's kind of a sad story, not to be a downer, but our assistant brewer, Ian, passed away last spring in a motorcycle accident. So he went by Icon. His initial is Ian Campbell O'Neill.
Okay.
And the guys at Modern Times reached out and wanted to do something with us. So we decided to, well, at first we were a little apprehensive because I was overwhelmed, missing my brewer and having to do it all alone. But after a while, it just made sense. And they were so nice. The guys at Modern Times are great. They just opened up their books, there's no secrets. Like, yeah, we just want you to do a good beer. So they worked with us on a recipe, and we added rye to it to be a little different. You need a little protein in there to give it the haze, or to keep the haze in there. So we added rye, so we called it the Ricon.
Yeah.
And that was a great beer, and it used all the different hops that we've had from the different hop lagers up to that point. And we added a few because they demanded that we do hops that they've been doing it a lot longer than us. So we know what we're doing. Do it this way.
Right. Is that one of the ones that we got here?
We don't. It's something we're doing seasonally, and it was a big demand when we got it. People came in and went crazy for it. But I think if we had it full time, they may not go as crazy for it. Plus, you start getting typecasts. There's breweries out there that are known for their hazy IPAs, and that's awesome. They do a great job of it, but I'm sure the brewers would love people to know them for other things that they also brew well.
Okay, yeah.
So we try and keep a balance of everything, and lagers seem to be our niche right now. So we'll bring in that. So speaking of IPAs in the beginning, when Julian recruited me, he says we're not going to be brewing an IPA. It's all German and Belgian beers.
Really?
That's what I said. See how long that lasts.
What? Yeah.
We did it, and we had plenty of guest beers, great IPAs on tap, but there were people that would literally walk in the door, have you brewed an IPA yet? No. All right. They turn around and leave.
Really?
So we said, all right, let's brew one. Let's show them, I know how to make an IPA.
Yeah.
Let's show them what we can do. Brewed it, immediately our best-selling beer. We're rolling our eyes like, yeah, everyone's just going to order that now. And then when it ran out, people come back like, oh, you're out of your IPA? Walk out the door again. Like, okay, we're going to make it full-time. We'll bring it back.
Yeah.
Best-selling beer until October.
The house?
House IPA.
House IPA. H-A-U-S, house.
Yes.
H-O-U-S-E. I like it.
So this is the one recipe that does not change. It sells well for us. I've always, everything I've ever brewed, I've wanted to try and improve on it.
Okay.
But this one is one that has a following.
This is the original? Was this the one that
our
you pitched to Julian and said
original IPA? So we, our goal for this beer was not to brew the beer that blows everybody's minds and ends up on Instagram everywhere. It's to brew an IPA that you can drink 3 pints of.
Yeah.
Most people push the boundaries of a style. We wanted to go right down the exact center of the style guidelines, So we sit there just, we're well within our range of BUs, but we're not overwhelming to where you need a tongue scraper afterwards.
Yeah.
You can smell it. There's a lot of Simcoe. We use German Magnum in the beginning. We use that in a lot of our beers because it's just good bittering hop. But we use Amarillo, Simcoe, Falconer's Flight in this one. And Falconer's is a blend of several different hops. It's another charity hop for a gentleman named Glenn Falconer that passed away a few years back, and they created a hop variety blend that feeds his foundation so they can do scholarships and whatnot.
Nice.
And they typically choose some of the better hops. So being a small brewer, rather than having to buy open a box of all these different varieties, I can buy the blend. It's a little more money for the charity, but I can keep my boxes fresher.
Yes. Yeah. It's really good. And it's one thing that you said before we started recording was balance. Balance is so crucial for you.
Yeah. So, for me, the reason I like the Hoppy Lager anyway is it's not as bitter, but it has the hops in the nose. And I think it's so important for an IPA for an American IPA anyway, you've got to smell it in the nose. And of course, the bitterness. Bitterness is just a feeling. It's not really a flavor so much. It's on the back of your tongue, although they've proven that not everybody feels it on the back of their tongue. But if you take just purely iso-alpha acids and you put it in water and you drink it, you wouldn't smell anything, you wouldn't really taste anything, but you'd have a feeling almost like a 9-volt battery on the back of your tongue. So you start thinking about where sweetness is on your tongue, where saltiness, where sour is, and where bitterness is. It just is a feeling. Trigeminal response coupled with the malt profile and the hop profile that you get in your nose, and it gives you a feeling. As I said earlier, your nose, the olfactory nerve is a big one. Feeds right up in that hypothalamus of your brain, and it gives you a mood. I mean, you already made up your mind whether you like a beer most times before you taste it, because you smell it.
That is true. Yeah.
Visually too, most people get their opinions from their vision of it.
It looks and tastes and smells great.
Yeah, we tried in the beginning. We tried doing it unfiltered. We didn't want it hazy, but we ran it through a strainer just to strain out the hops, and we put it on a standpipe and let the yeast settle on its own, thinking the hops would be more aromatic in there, and it wasn't as good. It was a little harsher, so we ran it through a filter. It does strip some of the flavors out, but it just makes it a more pleasant beer.
Okay. Yeah.
And we can get it on tap the next day.
Yeah, right. Yes.
We'll save the haze for our Rikon.
Mexican lager, you said?
This is the Mexican Amber.
Mexican Amber.
This is also gluten reduced.
Okay.
This is a lager. Julian wanted I think he felt that there was a demand in the market for Mexican Ambers, so we brew it. The very first Mexican Amber brewed was in the late 1800s, I think. It was Maximilian was the Emperor of Mexico. He was born in Austria, so the American lager was already developed, and as the immigrants came into the United States, they started moving down towards Texas Hill Country and into Mexico, and that was very German and Austrian influenced area down there, so they started bringing their German influence. Nowadays, most of the Mexican breweries have a lot of corn syrup, so you're going to get a sweetness, but that happens to a lot of big breweries. They find cheaper ways to make stuffs. But this is 100% Barca malt from Weyermann Malting in Germany, which is by far my favorite malt to use. And the Barca is the original seed of the Vienna malt. So.
Oh, really? Okay.
And they call it Wiener there.
Wiener?
We say Vienna, they say Wiener.
Oh, Vienna. Yeah, this is the wiener beer. Actually, there was a wiener beer before, right? The hot dog one. Was that the Tripel?
Yep, little coriander.
Yeah. All right, and then we've got. Let me see if I can figure this one out here. This is.
If Julian was here, he'd have a lime in his, and it'd be in a cold mug.
Oh, really? And how do you feel about that?
Well, when he first told me he wanted to do it, I put my foot down and said no, rolled my eyes. He can do what he wants. He's my boss.
Yeah.
There was a time a few months later, we kind of just have an agreement that if the guest asks for it, we're going to let him have it. But it's kind of lemon and a Hefeweizen. You don't ruin a beer up front. Let the guests ruin their own, hand him one. But he put a lime in his and had it in a cold mug, and he goes, just taste it. And I tasted it, and it was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
He's usually right on these things when he tells me to do something.
Yeah. Well, it seems like you guys have it's a two-way street, though, right?
Yeah.
Because you threw out that he's like, no, I don't want IPAs. You're like, let me just try one. And
we're very different in our ideas,
Yeah.
but we have respect for each other, and ultimately he gets to make the call for whatever he does, but he listens to me, and I listen to him. So
Yeah,
it's a good relationship for business.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if you're both like-minded and you both want the same things, it's easy to do, but it doesn't create the best product, right?
Yes.
You need the conflict, right? I don't know if that's the right word, right? Conflict, in a way, good
Yes.
conflict.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, challenges and
Yeah.
if any one person could do everything themselves, they could do it alone. I mean, so it's like judging beer at a table. The Great American Beer Fest, it's not one guy at a table. It's several people, usually 7 at a table for a reason, and you don't always agree. It's a good thing to have multiple opinions and then try and talk about it, discover other people's point of view, and learn from each other and make the best decision.
Yeah, because the whole goal is to make the best product, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So this is got the fruity notes from being an ale, a little stronger than the amber lager, and it definitely has the hop finish because Amarillo hops in there, which gives a nice, almost a mandarin or tangerine note on the end. I was kind of inspired by Firestone's DBA, which is a really good English bitter. They use the English hops in there when we wanted a little bit of the American punch, but not like an IPA. So
Yeah.
it's actually selling pretty well for us. I'm impressed by how this beer just chugs along. Guest accounts, particularly when people order our beer, they roll their eyes. Our best seller, I've always said, it's going to be IPA if you put it on. And the bar managers are like, I got 90% of the beers I have are IPAs.
Yeah.
Like, I'd love to be the next one.
Yeah.
No, you brew lagers and you do it at amber, so we're definitely going to put those on. So
They want something different.
they want it, and we can do the other stuff. So it seems to be where our niche is becoming.
Yeah. Well, I like the way that the hop kind of intercepts the sweetness of the amber.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of malt profile in that beer. There's amber malt and there's a caramel malt in there that gives it a high finishing gravity maltiness, but it doesn't smell malty like the next beer is the Doppelbock as we cut it with that American hop.
Yeah, so with ambers, a lot of times it's too malty for me because I'm like you. I like the hops. Like I'm more of like a hoppy IPA pale ale, and I like ambers, but sometimes it's too malty.
They
too
get
sweet.
overwhelming.
Yeah.
They're
That's
more
a great
susceptible to oxidation flavors too. I don't know what it is. Something about the type of malts, having that much crystal malt in a beer. You really want to drink them fresh. They don't age out like some of the others. Lagers, that's the advantage of lagers. They age really well because the H2S gas that's produced in the fermentation doesn't blow out immediately like in ales. It stays in there. And though that is a rotten egg smell, it's also an antioxidant. So as it's dissipating, it's absorbing oxygen, which is what makes beer stale. So
Interesting. So if you had you bought a lager and you bought a pale ale and you kept them both in your fridge, that lager's gonna stay good longer.
it should.
Yeah.
In theory. Some of the Germans are smarter and they package their beer young for a reason. It's not ready to drink, but they know that the export's not going to make it to the United States and get to the shelves for another 3 to 4 weeks sometimes. So they package it purposely that way so it will have more H2S to preserve it, and that'll dissipate in the next few weeks. So.
Yeah, thinking ahead, strategizing with that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great idea to drink all of these first and then finish up with this one, right? Oh, this was aged in Four Roses.
Four Roses. So they have different types of barrels and different types, well, same type of barrel, but different types of yeast. You can see them stamped on the barrels. One of their yeasts actually smells Belgian-y. It has the plum raisin notes, so we use that for our quad.
Okay. Yeah. Raisin, yeah, for sure. That's really good.
Yeah, and the same yeast is in the Tripel and the beer Blanch, but throws totally different flavors, so that you get more dark fruits out of this gravity. Very, very strong, and it picks up the tannins from the bourbon barrels.
Wanna try it? You guys can share that one. That is the barrel-aged quad. I just gave it to them.
Yeah.
I gave it to them because I'm like, oh, you know what? I need to. It's delicious, but
It's good. That's our most expensive beer.
yeah.
If we were to sell it in the market, it's a $540 keg.
Really?
That's what we charge our own restaurant for the beer. You figure the first use in a premium barrel, aging it, and the loss you have, of course, the amount that us brewers drink before we have a final yield and all that, it adds up.
Yeah.
Cost on that beer goes way up to make.
Yeah. Yeah. It's great. Like that's strong. Like you're not drinking 6 of those. You shouldn't.
Yeah, and that's a hard beer to pair with food. That's a meal in itself.
Right. Kind of dessert, I guess. Like
yeah,
after,
dessert's great, or just between something. You know, if you're right, you can do it with a big, rich, saucy pork dish, maybe. But there's probably better choices.
Right. Right. And so we're gonna finish up with the good old American Stout.
Yeah, American Stout. So rinse all that strong quad down.
So why specifically an American Stout?
Well, we kind of play with our stouts. It's one of the beers that we don't necessarily have to create a following. It's just people want a stout. We've done everything from an English porter to we did a maple milk stout. We recently had a maple bacon porter on. We've done a few things, but the American plant, we also do an imperial stout that we age in the barrels as well. That'll be available probably in about 2 months. This is just a plain old West Coast stout. It's got a little more hop presence and just balanced with alcohol and roast. And we brewed a batch, and it sold well for a stout. And we decided, let's keep brewing it for a while. Mm-hmm. We have a pilot system that we can do all the fun stuff on too. So, which we did the maple bacon. That's a risky beer to put on a big batch.
Maple bacon?
Yeah, we had the guys at Hungry Monk came up. They wanted to do bacon night. They pair food with different beers, and we invited them up to sign a beer, and we used cherrywood smoked malt and Vermont maple syrup and did a porter. And it was originally supposed to be not a big, robust porter, but I have my scale set for kilograms instead of pounds when I weighed them all out. Yep, next day we discovered that. I kept going, man, this is darker than I thought, and it's more smoky. Turned out to be okay, just more of a robust.
Yeah, that's interesting, and you could distinctly smell or taste like the bacon. And
yeah, so we did not use any bacon, though. We were thinking about starting that rumor just to see how many vegans would show up and get irritated with us. But we did not use bacon in that beer. We just used flavors that bacon are associated with.
Okay,
the maple and the smoked malt.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah. The stout's great too, because this is like, I think sometimes people get too carried away with the stouts. Like they're too syrupy, I guess you could say. Like there's just,
especially nowadays, people are doing sugary ones. And you put a lot of brown sugar in them to get your initial gravity up and the alcohol up. People like that. It's fine if you want to do it. But yeah, a lot of them are going that trend where they're really sweet lately.
Yeah,
it's just barley, roasted barley, regular barley, and there's a little bit of unmalted stuff in there for body.
Yeah, it's good stuff, man. Nice job on all these beers.
Thank you.
Anything on the horizon for the next couple years?
Yeah, we're going to max the production facility out here pretty quick. We don't have a salesperson yet, and we certainly need help. But we almost don't need a salesperson, more of just an ambassador to help us market our brand, I think, as things go, because the beer's selling itself faster than we have people that can produce it right now. So we have a few tanks available. If we add more help in the brewery, we can get a little more beer out. But with the trend towards lagers that we're having, they're spending more time in the tanks. I think we're looking at another brewery At some point, we just have to figure out what the best approach is.
Okay.
Especially right now, there's so many great breweries in Arizona. Great breweries. And there's room for more. There's always room for more. But, at some point, we used to say, hey, we're just converting the macro brew drinker into craft beer. We're taking away from wine, and we're taking away from this. But at some point, we're going to be taken away from each other. And so we all have to be cautious of our expansions. Having your own tasting room is so important for any brewery right now, and you got to get a lot of your profits or a lot of your revenue needs to come from your retail sales, not your wholesale. Otherwise, you're going to be competing in other markets further away against local great craft beers that are local. So
you're going to be bouncing other people off of taps to get your taps in.
Yeah, a lot of great breweries are successful with that model, but you have to employ a lot of people to sell it if you do it. And yeah, you're competing against local when you won't be. If you're a big brewery, you're in another market. You're not the local brand anymore.
Yeah.
So I think my vision is to stay local as we expand wherever we go with a brewery and a tasting room where we can show people our culture and work well with the other breweries in that community and be the local brewery wherever we're at.
Yeah, interesting. So meaning like right here, this is a restaurant and a brewery. You're thinking of production, like brewery, production facility, tasting room, beer focused.
Yeah, we could sure use some production help.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's tough too. You start thinking about quality. Go to some of the other breweries that are bigger, may not be selling as much because, for one reason or another, they may have some capacity available, but will the beer taste the same? We have that unique brew house that can do lagers. We have a mash mixer, and not everybody has that ability. So
yeah.
Then our yeast strains, the shape of our fermenters creates different flavors. So that'll be our challenge.
Yeah.
We don't know the answer yet, but I sure like when I come here at night and see a line to get in.
Yeah.
That's been fun.
Yeah.
I saw that for the first time the other night.
Yeah. Nice.
Left Thursday night, and there was a line out the door of people trying to check in to get into the place. It was a large party, and they were checking in because I think they had prepaid for a lot of food and stuff. So they were, but it was really cool to see the place so packed and so many people with smiles on their faces is something I enjoy.
Any plans for like canning, bottling, anything like that?
Yeah, so cans seem to be the natural choice everybody's reaching for these days. It's weird here in the U.S. Cans seem to be more environmentally friendly. You're not using as much fuel to get the cans delivered. They're lighter than glass. They can be recycled like glass is recycled here. In Germany, it's very different. Cans are not accepted.
Really?
Yeah, it's a struggle if you're selling cans over there, and because they really do recycle glass. They don't melt it down. They reuse them. Every brewery they all use the same type of glass, and it's very thick. And they go through a machine that cleans it, fills it, and X-rays the glass to make sure there's no cracks. And they reject bad stuff, which goes eventually back to recycling. But yeah, Germany's recycling program is a little more advanced than ours. So they actually reuse it. Yeah, everything.
Yeah.
They're far ahead. So I think there's still something to be said for glass too. The flavor of glass is, my opinion, I know a lot of people wouldn't agree with me, but glass I think is better for beer. However, the cap on a glass bottle is not as good as the can.
That seal.
The can seal, and the cans have a lining, paraphenolic coating, which is similar to glass. There's some challenges with cans as well, but that seal is superior to the seal on a bottle. So, especially for hoppy beers, that seal typically will absorb hop flavors and scrub it out of your beer.
Interesting.
Yeah, they make different seals for different things. If you want your beer to be served fresh, there's definitely a seal that is better than the typical seal that makes your beer last longer because it absorbs oxygen.
Okay.
Yeah, weird stuff. And then remember they tried the PET bottles?
What was that?
Like plastic water bottles for beer.
Oh, yeah,
there was like a football game where they pelted the ref with beer.
Oh, yeah, they did.
So they went to these plastic bottles. They're safer, and they just float to the ground.
Yeah. I feel that was like a Cleveland Browns game or something like that.
Yeah,
seems like all that shit goes down.
People get that way. But yeah, so the PET has an interesting property too. If it's recyclable, then it is not very good for beer. It will exchange oxygen. But if they put something in there that prevents that, then it's not recyclable, and it becomes pointless because plastic's horrible for our environment. So
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are steering away from that.
Yeah. Interesting. So the plans, the bottle, can, something like that is in the works, just figuring out the details of it.
Yeah, there's no room. You have to buy all the cans.
Yeah, that's true.
We have no room in this facility to keep the cans safe from everybody's greasy hands. And they don't get they get rinsed before they're filled. So they come from the factory kind of on a pallet in a way that they're not going to get a lot in them. But when you have them out in the middle of a restaurant, it's not very good. So we probably have to get a second facility and plan for cans, or we'd have to do another remodel here and take away more space to put a canning room.
Yeah. Whatever you guys are doing right now, it's working. So
It seems to be good for us.
keep that rolling, man. Keep that rolling. Doc, thanks for joining me, man. This has been a great conversation.
Thank you. This has been great.
Yeah, I've learned a lot. Learned probably more, and nice stuff.
Good.
Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. Next time we'll get Julian in on this, right?
Yeah, and you won't be able to get him to stop talking. He is really good on a microphone.
All right, good. All right, well, thanks, man. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah. All right, thanks for listening to the show and for your support of the craft beer scene here in Arizona. Our goal is to put Arizona beer on the map, and we need your help. So help us spread the word. Tell someone you know. Take a listen. Watch the videos on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe on YouTube and on your favorite podcast app so you get notifications right away when you get new material. So in the meantime, always remember, stay awesome.
Mi negra preciosa y cuando se va de casa